Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Winds of Winter predictions. I'm the host, Oberyn Blackfire. Oberyn Blackfire, as in Oberyn, as many of you know, as the coolest character in Game of Thrones, and then Blackfire as the rightful king, King Daemon. Sorry, you guys need to admit it. He should have been king. But anyway, that's for a different episode. Okay, also King of the Crackpots. Thank you very much. Okay, so just to go in here to explain, first thing, spoilers for anyone who has not read up to Book 5, and probably for those of you who have not been keeping up with the sample chapters up to Ser Barristan Selmy, the second chapter that's out. So just letting you guys know, spoilers. Do not watch if you are only watching the show, or if you want to find out more what's in the series, and actually if you want to actually know kind of a good chunk of Winds of Winter in the beginning part. Not that I have any special knowledge, but this is just what you can find on the internet. Okay, so as of yesterday, or excuse me, a couple of days ago, you have the drop of Ser Barristan Selmy's first chapter of Winds of Winter in the paperback version of A Dance of Dragons. And so therefore, you get to see that the Battle for Meereen is really kind of scooping up, and it's going to happen. And Selmy is pretty much geared to either go out in glory and die, or he thinks that there's a good chance that they can win. I will get to that in a second, but right now, for my whole predictions of what's going to happen, I'm going to kind of go in a clockwise manner, starting at the wall and then going pretty much, clockwise throughout the whole world that we are in this Song of Ice and Fire. Okay, so far at the wall, you have Jon Snow. Pretty much looks like he gets assassinated at the ending of A Winds of Winter. However, it's kind of telling that, of course, his last thoughts are of Ghost. We know that whether willingly or not, Jon has been a warg somewhat throughout the whole series as per his Stark blood. This, pretty much is what people are going to say. Is George R.R. Martin going to kill off Jon as a point of view character? Is he going to be gone? Is he going to be a memory? We're not going to hear anything from him anymore. That just wouldn't add up with what the series really kind of shows. He's too pivotal. So far, we have no other points of view chapters at the wall except one Melisandre chapter, and it didn't really show too much. You could tell that there was a lot of restraint there from her story that George R.R. Martin wasn't really showing us. So there's no way that he's going to take Jon away from us, because we already know George R.R. Martin said he's not going to introduce any new point of view chapters at all, except maybe the epilogue and the prologue of his are always kind of, they're not people that are in the story. They're just using to show something, to prove a point, kind of. Okay, so therefore we have that. Jon is not going to die. I think that route is pretty much going to be him dying for a little while, maybe seeing the other side of death. Maybe even him communicating with Bran, since he does have Blood of the First Men, and he will maybe go into the Weirwood Network, or Ghost, which in case he'd be a warg, and then Bran could also warg and communicate with him that way. This, I think, could be the main way that Jon actually learns about the others, getting the knowledge of the ages pretty much from Bran or from Bloodraven, aka the Three-Eyed Crow, who Bran had found in the third book actually, but in the fifth book he was being more instructed that way. This is the way I think. What this Jon's death is either going to prove his heritage, meaning that finding out that he is Rhaegar and Lyanna's son. I'm not saying this is for sure. It'd be kind of a weird way. Or just his role in the oncoming war with the others, when he was so gung-ho saying, you know what, Ramsay, I'm going to go, and pretty much what would have been the Battle of the Bastards, he kind of goes, wait a minute, no, I need to see what's right in front of me, and the others are the only main concern right now. Especially with everything going on at Hardhome, which pretty much it looks like thousands of people are going to die. And with Melisandre already having the foretelling of, oh man, the hardest hit is going to come at Eastwatch. Well, if you have thousands of wildlings and now Rangers of the Night's Watch that are going to die because of a failed attempt at rescue, well, guess what? Now you're going to have an army of whites pretty much coming at you. And, you know, Eastwatch looks like it could fall. Looks like it could fall. Okay, that covers that. Let me go down to Stannis now. The Pink Letter, there's been so many arguments with who wrote the Pink Letter. I truly can't say, you know, I can't really say, you know, I would want to say it's Stannis because it seems, I would enjoy if it was Stannis because of the fact that it seems kind of tricky and something that he would do just to kind of get more support for himself. Especially because he kind of knows that, that, you know, this whole march that they went on pretty much, like, really, really made his army wary. And how is he going to storm Winterfell with that? So I think it could have been concocted by either Stannis or someone supporting Stannis. I mean, for all we know, it could have been Melisandre. You know, who knows? I know that'd been kind of weird and kind of out of character, but I'm just saying that, you know, she can glamour, and who knows if she may have worked a glamour to kind of concoct some sort of thing to where she ensures a victory for Stannis. Anyway, going more towards that, I do think that Winterfell will exchange hands maybe a couple of times. I don't foresee Roose Bolton or Ramsay Bolton really staying alive that long, considering the fact that Winterfell is filled with Northmen that know that Roose Bolton pretty much betrayed Robb Stark. And they, you know, the North remembers. That is pretty much the motto of the North right now, is the North remembers. You have Wyman Manderley, who is, you know, pretty much just, you know, I mean, Lord Manderley, who's just scheming and waiting to, waiting pretty much to go ahead and have the cue of someone to say, okay, you know what, turn your coat. So when you have that, when you have that, you have the Manderley forces and you have the Frey forces coming at him from completely two different ways. The Manderley forces could just, boom, kill the Frey forces with the help of Stannis. So therefore, there goes maybe a third of Roose's power right there. So after that, he's going to be outnumbered. Okay, so what is he going to do? Just sit in the castle? Well, yeah, but at the same point in time, you have people that are in the castle that want you dead too. So I do not see Bolton keeping the castle for very long if there's going to be a siege. I think he will be killed from the inside out, from a Northern Lord that just goes, you know what, or whoever has been killing the people, the masked man who's been killing people within Winterfell already. You know, we don't know who that was, but he could just as easily take out Roose if things became very desperate in Winterfell. So I think that Stannis will gain Winterfell for a little bit. However, going off there, you have Sansa, which is a wild card at this point. It all really kind of depends on the timing for her. The timing, and this actually kind of goes in accordance. So now we'll move on to that, the veil and everything like that. We know that we've mentioned, okay, Littlefinger has stated that he thinks there will be a War of Three Queens. Okay, if he reveals Sansa as her being Sansa Stark, the pretty much only living, you know, relative now of the Starks, that is actually full-blood and not, you know, not a faked Arya, she is going to be the Queen of the North. She will be the legitimate Queen of the North. So, therefore, you're going to have the Vale, which is the pretty much fresh resource, going to say, hey, you know what, we want to help you take back your seat. We want to help you take back your kingdom. Especially if she's getting married to Harry the heir. And that, therefore, brings the Vale and combines them completely together. So, then also Harry could see a way of pretty much ruling the North and having a kingdom through Sansa, especially because, you know, she's a woman aspect, but he's the male. And in this kind of series, unfortunately, you know, the males kind of dominate the women, so he sees himself becoming a king. There would be no reason why they wouldn't do that, because it's just too easy for him right now at this point. So, you know, let's just say that they, sail up from Goldtown, land in the north, and all of a sudden you have that right there. I mean, will they side with Stannis? Will they destroy Stannis? I mean, who knows? It really depends on what time they come and what time Sansa reveals that she's a Stark. Another thing that could happen with Sansa at this point is that if she does reveal she's a Stark, at this point, and let's say Lady Stoneheart gets a whiff of that, okay, so then all of a sudden, what are going to be the actions with that? Will Lady Stoneheart reveal herself to Sansa? And, what will Sansa do, seeing her mother pretty much as a badass corpse woman? I mean, Stoneheart is a badass, but at the same point in time, it's just like Sansa at this point in time, I feel like that would just be much too much for her to handle, especially everything that she's gone through. But Sansa will, I think Sansa will have a very, very, very big role to play in the realm. I definitely think that she will become a queen at some point. Whether that's of the North or whether that's sitting on the Iron Throne, I don't know. Littlefinger is pretty much going to be dead by the end of the series, I believe. Maybe even the end of this book. But we don't know. Arya in Braavos, pretty much I think she's going to stay on the same course as she has been. Pretty much learning everything from the Faceless Men. Trying to gain as much knowledge, yet not forgetting who she really is, which is Arya Stark. And I don't think that hers will be a very redeeming arc. I think that she will go back to Westeros at some point, maybe within the middle to end of Winds of Winter, and then pretty much either forsake the Faceless Men and just kind of go on her own killing spree, or or get a fortuitous contract from the Faceless Men, which lets her kill someone that she wants to kill, aka Cersei. Maybe, but Cersei, Cersei is not going to be killed by Arya. I'm just saying that Arya might be sent there to kill her. Dealing with Westeros now and that kind of stuff. I think that Cersei will be dead by the end of Winds of Winter. There's just too much going on. She's just slipping from one stupid thing to the next. I think this whole Robert Strong thing, which is a reincarnated Gregor, is pretty much just, I think that's a ruse for people to think, oh man, she has this badass, this badass knight that, can't die. But then let's just say that he's super slow and has no fighting skills whatsoever, as he's a corpse, and then he gets totally killed by whatever knight he goes up against. I mean, people want it to be the Hound, but honestly, from a storyteller's point of view, why would George R.R. Martin bring back the Hound right now? His arc is done. It was Sandor Clegane. He didn't want to be the Hound anymore. He got tired of the killing. Now he's in a place of peace. And he's also, from what we know, he was also very hurt and lame when we saw him on the Quiet Isle as a gravedigger. He's not going to be coming back. His hatred for his brother, I think, is released, and we saw the last end of him. However, a lot of people are thinking that maybe Loras Tyrell is not really as hurt as he said he is. I think that would be cool. Or if somehow Garland Tyrell can become another part of the Kingsguard, which I really don't think, that wouldn't make much sense since he just became a Great Lord. But, that'd be kind of a cool little aspect. Or another thing that I think would be cool, since the Faith is so, going crazy right now, that would be really cool to see a trial of 7, which means there would be 7 brothers of maybe, mostly the Kingsguard against 7 knights of whatever the Faith picks, because they know that right now the Kingsguard is pretty much inadequate. Has an unholy monster on it, like a Craven, an older guy, and then like some of the best knights are now in Dorne, who are pretty much. It looks like they're pretty much. Eris Oakheart is dead. Loras Tyrell is at death's door, and Swan, he's who knows what's going to be his end with Darkstar, because Darkstar is of the night. You know what I mean? He's a badass. All Darkstar haters, nah. Just kidding. So basically that's what I think. Arianne Martell, she's on her way to become an unknowingly queen, I think. I think in the end, because of her just the way her thinking is, when she kind of thinks of Quentin as an enemy, her brother, she doesn't want to think of him like that, but really her chapter kind of told a lot about her, to where she was kind of thinking that Quentin might be an enemy and she didn't want to think about him that way, but it kind of was. She definitely wants the power. She definitely wants to be important. She feels like she needs to be in a place of power because she deserves it. So with this Aegon, whether my hopes is that he's a Blackfire, guys. I mean, it makes sense. It makes complete sense. From the story of the inn, pretty much read the chapter to where Brienne and Septim Maribald and Sir Hyle Hunt and Podrick Payne go to the Crossroads Inn where they see Gendry. In that chapter, he will tell a story of how there was a black iron dragon built for that inn, which was called the Clanking Dragon at that point. But during the first Blackfire Rebellion, it was torn down and then thrown in the river. In the river, the black dragon's head that was on the inn, that was a statue, actually turned into a red one when it washed up on the Quiet Isle. So years later, it was a black dragon, and then when it washed back on the Quiet Isle, it was a red. That's kind of foretelling of Aegon's story when he's kind of like, okay, he was a black dragon, but then when he comes back here, all of a sudden he's a red dragon. I don't even think that he knows that he's being deceived. He truly thinks that he is Aegon Targaryen, the son of Rhaegar, when I really think that he's just another Blackfire pretender. But honestly, I don't see why he shouldn't be on the throne. He seems like a really nice guy. Has the temper, but so does Dany, and all that kind of crap. And plus, it would end the Blackfire if he did get married with Dany or such. It would end the Blackfire enmity between Targaryen and Blackfire. So then, as the Targaryens are trying to get their throne back in Westeros, you wouldn't even have to worry about the Blackfires. So you're going, oh, now they're weak, so we'll take it. It's better to make a friend and enemy, what I always say. But, a lot of people think that the kid's toast, so we'll see. I think Arianne will be convinced that he might be the real thing. I think that, especially after hearing that Quentyn got killed in Meereen at the hand of a dragon of Daenerys's, I think Dorne will definitely back Aegon. Even maybe not liking Daenerys, but just at that point, I think they're going to forsake Daenerys at that point. Just going to go, we're going to go with Aegon. So that's just kind of that's what I think is going to be happening there. Pretty much that concludes it for Westeros, except in Dorne. Well, I'm going to go a little more. I'm going to go in and make a separate video about the whole thing of the Meereen knot. Actually, now I think about it, because this is already at 17 minutes. So I will make a second video. Sorry, guys, for thinking about that. But just to touch on a couple of subjects that are kind of really talked about. Jaime. The whole thing that's going to happen with Jaime is I think this will be the setup to where he is the younger brother that will kill Cersei. The way that his whole story has been going, he's just seeing the evil of Cersei more and more. And even when she was already threatened and sent the letter to him, he burns it. Okay, and then being witnessed face to face with the reanimated Catelyn, I think he's just gonna see that his evils really did affect people in a very, 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 very negative way. He's already coming to that conclusion, but he's now seeing it at first hand. A corpse of a mother that just wanted her children back, and pretty much, I don't even know if she's gonna give him the chance to redeem himself. But I mean, for all we know, he might just say, hey, you know what, you keep me alive, I'll kill Cersei for you. Or I'll implement something to where I will fight for you, and now, I will bring down House Lannister from the inside. We don't know what he's gonna do. He seems to want to be on the road for justice, and if he does the true justice, then he will become an ally to Stoneheart rather than just get killed by him. We don't know. We have no idea of that. I mean, for all we know, he might kill Brienne or something like that. To where we have no idea. But I think that this is Jaime's story arc of redemption that will redeem himself in one way. I mean, whether it's bringing down the Freys, whether it's killing Cersei. I think that's personally the way he's going to go. I think he's going to be the one to kill Cersei as a cat's paw for Lady Catelyn and the Stark in general. But we don't know, obviously, until the Winds of Winter. So we have to kind of see that. Another thing is I don't think Brienne will survive that. I honestly think she will die, just because she loves Jaime and that kind of whole thing. It seems like a cute picture, but George R.R. Martin, He's just not going to allow it. Also, Cold Hands. A lot of people think that he might be Benjen Stark. I think it's more. I think it's more along the lines of him being the Night King. I know people are like, no, the Night King was destroyed, da da da. But it just makes a lot more sense that the Night King became a white that is still in pretty much control of himself. Why would Benjen be in control of himself? Why wouldn't he be another white? As far as we know, anyone who's been killed and made a white pretty much doesn't have control of themselves. So why would Benjen Stark pretty much have control of himself and be able to help people rather than be a slave to the White Walkers? The Night King, on the other hand, who pretty much fell in love with a White Walker and made her his queen and such like that. That makes a little bit more sense to why maybe they would raise him up as, the White Walkers would raise him up as a white and kind of let him still have his freedom, because it's kind of, he was quote unquote friends with them. But I mean, we don't know now. I mean, it could be the fact that Benjen had the blood of the Starks in him, and since the Night King pretty much, from what we know, from what we can gather anyway, was a Stark, then there you go. But anyway, guys, okay, to pull that, to conclude everything like that, I do think that Jon Snow will come back. I think he will find out something very important while he is dead, though. Whether his parentage or whether or not his role in this whole The Long Night Part 2. I think he will definitely find that out, and he will somehow convey that to Melisandre, and in which case that'll definitely change up their dynamic very, very, very quickly. I think that the battle at the Wall is very, very looming, and the others are pretty much going to become a huge factor and a huge threat to not just the Wall, but the whole realm at this point, somewhere within the book. I think Stannis will take Winterfell for the nonce. I'm not sure how long he will hold it, or if he will survive pretty much the whole thing, but I think Winterfell will be taken from the Boltons, whether by Stannis or whether by a force from the Vale, as Sansa as the new Queen of Winter. That could be it. Arya, I think, will pretty much stay on her role and find out new techniques and that kind of stuff. Maybe even meet Jack and Hagar again, so that way they have a little discussion, which would be nice. But that's not it. Also, I believe Aegon is a Blackfire. I think that will be displayed through something that someone accidentally finds out. However, I think Arianne will still marry him, and Dorne will still support him, in which he will probably sit on the Iron Throne at some point in time, because George R.R. Martin has said that the Iron Throne will pass hands a couple of times before all is said and done. So I think Aegon Falsefire as I call him, will probably sit upon the Iron Throne just because he has the forces and because there's untold people who will side with him at this point in time, especially since the Tyrells and the Lannisters are really not getting along. Pretty much in Dorne, yeah, I think that's the whole thing. They will side with Aegon. As far as King Landings go, the death of Kevin is going to pretty much set a wasp nest to craziness at that point, especially with Cersei's trial. Another thing too, just to end before this, you also have two of the Sand Snakes going to King's Landing to take the spot of their uncle, or the spot of their uncle on the Small Council. The fact that you have the Sand Snakes, and they were even given Gregor's head in the 5th book, just makes it kind of laughable that Cersei will even have this Sir Robert Strong, who is supposedly a knight from nowhere, when the Sand Snakes explicitly said in the book she would be a fool to fake his death, because who else is that big? Well, where else are you going to get another Sir Gregor all of a sudden unless you're hiding it? Okay, so that right there I think is going to be kind of Cersei's quote-unquote downfall, because of the fact that the Dornish are already going to be against her, and that's such an easy way to show that Cersei is evil, by reanimating a corpse and putting it on, especially the Kingsguard, which is supposed to be like a holy order. No, it's not going to happen. So yeah, Cersei's fall will be imminent. Maybe even within this book, since A Dream of Spring, I think, will be the war against the others. Pretty much, I think that will be all it. So everything that's kind of untied right now, everything, all the people who are evil and kind of would disrupt the realm, I think Cersei is gonna die. Euron, maybe even Victarion. All these people and that kind of stuff are gonna end up dying. Littlefinger, possibly even Varys, and it's just gonna leave the core people who can and will work together against the others. I'm not saying just the heroes, but I just think all these people who are playing the Game of Thrones are all going to meet their end now, because then everyone else in Book 7 is going to realize, oh shit, there's an army of dead people coming to wipe out all of humanity. Okay, I will go into Meereen in my next episode, but now just please give me your comments and let me know what you think is going to happen, because that'd be awesome. Until then, Valar Morghulis.